how important would you think, and I think this will go across all panel, how important would you think it is important for your companies, for the respective companies you work for, the use of big data? I mean, we look at companies that are using not only for a single product, for multiple products, big data and analytics, being able to understand and drive market, drive to be able to understand how better to drive products to your customers, essentially. How important do you find these analytics for your companies? Just go across the panel.
So just to give a background of how we take data analytics, our approach at KPMG when we go to offer services to our respective clients. So basically we are a team of around 30 data professionals, and what we do when we go to a client, we say we are tool agnostic. We don't bias with regards to technology. So if you have your Oracle database, if you're using IBM Informix, if you're using Azure by Microsoft, if you're using Google products, we try to come in and first have a look at your data. We understand it. We have basically a meeting with the domain experts, and then now from there we're able to move on. We're able to understand your pain points. We are able to advise management and executive level at the key metrics that they should be measuring in the organization, whether it's with regards to performance, HR, operations, and so on and so forth. So we find that, say, data analytics and big data analytics, it's very important. One, with regards to managing growth, efficiency, risk, and overall with regards to the strategy of the organization.
So I guess KPMG, IBM, PwC, all are external facing businesses that offer their services to other companies. As a FICOM, mostly for an analytics aspect, to an internal facing company. So we have an enterprise unit, but it's a very tiny part of the company. So all the analytics that's done in FICOM is mostly looking at how do you make your products, efficiency, understanding your customers, and trying to optimize all the business processes that you have. And as everyone knows, FICOM probably has the largest data set in the country. Not even the government probably has that amount of data. So from your communication information to financial information, you movement information, and that creates a very wide reach data sets to play around with. And every day we probably collect more than 1 terabyte of data, so you can extrapolate how much data we have since the 70 years this FICOM has been in existence. So because of the various products and market strategies, almost all processes now, have some data component to it before you launch a marketing campaign, before you build a new product, if you want to understand your customers better. And that's hence why the innovation unit was set up at FICOM to help drive more of the data insights within FICOM. So it's very essential for the company's existence, growth, and efficiencies in the business processes to do the big data analysis.
Right. So for IBM, particularly for IBM research, big data is just this humongous opportunity that we have. So if you look at the various parts of IBM research, we have, for example, a healthcare division. So you may have heard sort of like Watson for healthcare, Watson for oncology. So really, just to give an example, so in the US, IBM is working with a series of hospitals that, for example, have a lot of CT, MRI scans, to basically try to see if we can come up with new ways of helping doctors detect if somebody has cancer, if they have this, various medical conditions, right? And this is something that is only enabled once you actually start getting a lot of data. The actual interesting thing is that data by itself is not necessarily very useful, there is still this dependency on working with sort of knowledge domain experts, right? So we're talking about healthcare, having a doctor that can also sort of guide you in understanding what you're seeing and what your model is supposed to predict is very useful. So big data doesn't actually replace people, but it certainly allows to augment the capabilities of people. And this is something that we strive for in research and IBM as well.
So in PwC, looking at it from the Kenya perspective and the global perspective, in Kenya, we're mostly involved in assisting organizations, as you say, we're external facing. So we work with clients to help them understand and leverage on their data to grow their businesses. So looking at organizations in Kenya, you will probably realize that most of them, we have so much data, but we mostly don't know what to do with it. So PwC comes in to assist organizations to answer that question. So we'll be involved in helping organizations come up with a data roadmap on how to use the organization, then later on help them to incorporate data analytics and big data analytics to help them grow their businesses. At a global level, PwC uses data to come up with products that can be given, they can actually sell out to their clients. For example, maybe looking at consumer, we have products that are used in the UK and the US by various organizations to help them understand their consumer habits so that they're able to assist these organizations to grow their markets, to become more efficient, to also grow sustainably, and also to help them, because at the end of the day, it's profit. That's what we're looking at. So yeah, so drive organizations to grow their profit and also serve their customers better.
Okay, that's interesting, because you mentioned you're trying to create products that you eventually have to channel and make profit from. Adoption of big data, this is something new. This is something that within the industry has not been there for, say, the past 20 years. You can see the companies have a lot of data. They don't know what to do with it per se. My question to you is, what challenges and risks are you facing in adopting this new technology? What barriers are there in one addressing customers who don't understand big data? Who you're trying to convince that big data is something that's going to enhance your business, it's going to give you better insights, it's going to improve how you segment your market. What challenges and risks are you facing on a day-to-day with your companies trying to adopt this new technology?
So I'd say from my experience, the biggest challenge is data quality and data privacy. Data quality because at the end of the day, an analysis process will only be as good as the data that was collected in the first place. So you find that most people would want to focus on going directly from the data source to the dashboards. That's the visualization. So in between, you forget to take care of your data quality, so that you find that with more time as the data quality goes down, your analysis results get less and less accurate. But what we do is that there's something that we refer to as a data maturity model that we normally take the organizations through. So therefore, I would say like the very first point will be the small data analysis, whereby you look for the small exceptions, and then as you move up the ladder, you can do what you call continuous monitoring before you even get to predictive analysis. So it's basically a maturity process.
So since we don't sell data products to other companies, we don't suffer the same problem trying to sell the idea to other companies. So our problems again are internally facing problems. So probably we have a good problem is we have too much data to handle that. And if you think about it, you want to analyze data that's worth 10 years, it probably cannot fit in your laptop that you have. So you have to invest into other technologies to handle big data, Hadoop, and the rest of the other kind of stuff. So that means you need extra staff to handle that data. So our challenge mostly is just to
experience has been that even though big data a lot of times offers, a lot of very nice insights into, things that a company could do differently to improve itself, there is always this sort of balance that for a company to, for example, change the way they offer a service, it has other costs, it has other challenges beyond just the insight that you're offering. And other times, balancing, the insight that you're offering and the changes that a company might have to do to implement those changes is not easy. So when we, if we work with a company and then, we come up with a great model, but then they might have to actually change the way they do a process, the way they actually serve a client. That actually can get really complicated because there are extraneous factors to basically adopting the insights that big data offers you. And this, I think, is one of the biggest challenges, that we might have nice insights from big data, but sometimes we don't actually know the business as well as the business owners themselves. And they have other reasons and other factors to consider when trying to take action from these insights.
Okay, so one of the challenges that I've seen when working with organizations regarding data is that most organizations in Kenya are reactive. And when I say reactive, I mean, so you go out here and big data analytics is a thing that people are talking about. So people just jump into it, they just want to implement it without first understanding why, first of all, their competitors are doing it, because we're just trying to cope and we're trying to get money and we're trying to just make sure we are into it. So you realize that, first of all, these digital transformations, big data and cybersecurity, these topics have not yet been discussed very well in majority of the boards, because it's something that needs to be ingrained in an organization's business strategy. Because the changes that you do as an organization have to be informed from what the organization is trying to achieve. So it's not about looking at the data you have and asking what this data can do for you. It's asking, this is what we need to do, so what data do we use to do that, to answer the questions. So you find most organizations are reacting and they're jumping into going ahead to get people to come and implement BI solutions, and most of them are not able to use them, first of all, because even maybe their systems at integration point, there was an issue during integration. And then the other thing also is you find that they're hiring left, right, and center. And then even when they're hiring, they're not able to articulate exactly what skills they require and what this particular talent that you're trying to source for will come and actually do the organization. And also they're running to get systems. But then what purpose are these systems going to serve? So it doesn't have, it's not about like what Steve said, it's not about going in and bringing in a BI solution. It's going in and starting from the beginning and understanding this is what we need to achieve, so what's the next stage? What systems do we require? Are the ones that we have working for us or not? If they're not working, then what is the alternative? Is it a data warehouse we need? Because we have too many systems all over, which is actually another challenge. We have too many systems, too many databases, the data is all over. And then to add on to that, as Steve said also, we have the inaccurate data and all the incomplete data. So when we come to the point of analysis, there's isn't much that you can do with this data. So it goes back to go ahead and look at your strategy. Is it okay? Are you going to get in a digital strategy, or what is it? Look at the data roadmap that you want to implement, and like just reacting and taking it up because that's what is happening currently.
All right. We get more and more deeper into this as the questions go on, because you mentioned something else, that it's more or less helter-skelter when people are looking for how to adopt these new technologies. As in security, you will have a security policy that will guide how you're going to adopt systems and how you're going to hire and procedures that are going to be followed. I'm not too sure there are too many in place with regards to data. We look at it globally, and there's a global data protection policy that is going to be adopted wide scale. I don't know whether that is something that's currently in place or in conversation and discussion within the respective companies, and Is that something that's within the roadmap? What is the roadmap for your organization? What are you looking at within the next 5, 10 years with regards to how you're going to handle your data? What kind of people are going to handle your data within your companies? And how are you going to address that generally, whether it's internally with companies that are really dealing with products that are customer facing or data crunching is internal, or you're doing that as a consulting, you're doing that for companies externally. How are you going to handle that data? Are there policies or what is the roadmap?
So, with regards to the roadmap, both internally and even externally, as we try to advise clients, I could say there are about 5 major roadmaps by different companies. There's a roadmap by Gartner, there's a roadmap by IBM, there's a roadmap by KPMG ourselves, but it's mainly with regards to the scenario that you made uh, at an organization. That's why mostly with regards to data analytics, we even have to, like I always say, you can't sell analytics in the space. You can't just bring analytics to an organization and give it to them. For us, we work a lot with another department called management consulting, people that change. Because you find that at the end of an analytics process, you'll be like trying to bring a behavioral change into the organizations that you're going to go and give this service. That's why, as I was saying, for example, I might go give a solution based on data analytics or based on big data analytics, whereby you go to a bank and then you find there's this lady who used to spend 8 hours in a day doing bank reconciliations, and then after the data analytics solution, I'm giving her a solution that only takes about 6 seconds. So what does it mean for this organization? It doesn't mean that this lady has to lose her job. It's just that it's the processes within the organizations that are changing. There's something else that she can do. For example, when she used to take 8 hours, she didn't have time to follow up on the issues that arise as the result of the reconciliation. Now she has time to follow up on the issues and do something else instead of doing these daily repetitive jobs. So the roadmap is to, as I said earlier, you have to work with the domain experts, whether it's the people in HR, whether it's the people in operations, because basically the idea is not to use BI as a stick to beat the people who you find to have been having a lot of inefficiencies. It's about to bring them behavioral change, and that's why we need the domain experts. So for me, that's the best approach. Yeah.
So data policy. So internally, Safaricom has its own data policy on data handling, and not every organization has access to data. Only specific people have access to data, as well as even there's a different gradual level of what you can access. So there is an internal policy on what you're able to access and what you're able to do with it. And also beyond that, there's also an ethical consideration with that. And when you join Safaricom, you undergo part of ethical training, just to sensitize you on. There might not be a law to cover whatever you've done, but you should have the ethical considerations. For example, if someone took your as a statement and put it up on Twitter, would you be happy? And the question is also, if you're not happy about something, then someone else will not be happy about it. So it's sort of like how things are governed internally about data. So externally, the Kenyan Constitution has a guarantee to privacy. And as a company, Safaricom holds a lot of private information. So there's sometimes if you look at the Constitution and the general description of when you expect privacy, that guides on what kind of data possible for we can be able to put out. And a lot of people will be asking, can Safaricom, put their data out so that people can do some cool machine learning work with it. but because of the privacy laws in the constitution, probably that will be had. But people also argue about new, anonymized type information. But this is an interesting thing. I think I read a while back about, call it, I think Google 7 point of separation, or something like that. That if you take out your name, but I have 7 distinct data, independent data about you, I can see now that that's you. So we get guided by the constitution. I think there was a data policy that was supposed to, I'm not sure whether it was passed, the Data Protection Act last year that was supposed to prevent companies from sharing your data with other third companies without your consent. So once that gets passed through, so the company has to ratify that. But now generally we have internal policies as well as ethical considerations while dealing with data.
Right. So I'll take I'll approach it from sort of like the opportunity side of things. So I think at the global scale, we're seeing sort of like a paradigm shift. People are becoming sort of more aware that their data is out there and that they sort of need to find ways of protecting it or at least having some knowledge as to how it's being used. You may have seen sort of like the European Union is sort of leading the way with this sort of right to know and right to forget your data, where basically companies are now obligated to basically notify you of how they're using your data. You have a right to know what data they have on you, and if you so choose, you can ask them to basically forget your data as long as it doesn't actually affect the direct business and service that they're offering you, that it's sort of like a justified data usage. So what that really means, for us, for example, is that we're seeing people becoming more interested in actually owning their data. So whether it be for healthcare, whether it be like their business information, people basically want to have some control over it. They want to, have this sort of like data wallets, as they're being called, to basically be able to manage what information is out there, to basically be the providers of that information. Potentially, you'll start to see companies, you know, find ways of allowing people to monetize on their own data. So instead of, let's say, Facebook monetizing on your information, maybe you can actually start monetizing on your information. So I think this is a really interesting sort of paradigm shift that it comes with a slew of like technical challenges and considerations, but there is a lot of opportunity in this space as like people are becoming more aware.
So for PwC, in terms of privacy and policies, okay, so we first of all have to understand that PwC Kenya it's one of the firms that fall under PwC Global. So as much as Kenya also has its own data protection laws and privacy laws, we first of all are governed by the UK and the US data privacy laws. So even as we go in to work with our clients and because we interact with a lot of client data, the first conversation we have is what data do we need for what and what will we be doing with it. And we have to agree even with the client what we can do with it. Are you allowed to go and access the data externally, like from the office, unlike being at the client site? We have all those procedures and discussions that we have regarding client data. And of course, with that, there always are repercussions, because we also have to understand with the sensitivity and the nature of audit practices, yeah? Because this is information that you would not want to have lying around with anyone. So we have lots of conversations, and also we have, in terms of trainings that we have to go through or regarding how we handle our clients' data and what we do with it, and how much of it we can access, and how much of it, even when we're dealing with, we have to mask out, because there's data that we have to mask out so that you cannot, once someone else sees the data, it cannot be traced back to that particular client. Because we realize that data it's a very sensitive aspect of an organization. Even also for yourself, your own personal information is very sensitive because it can be used to identify you. And we wouldn't want such situations where clients come back and we are being taken out to court or being sued because of lack of proper care and handling of client data.
So okay, that's one step in the right direction. What I think most people would like to figure out and understand is to what extent our data is used by different companies to sustain their business growth. So, for example, I might be receiving, and this happens a lot. I don't know whether this is a general thing. I'm on a website platform, online platform, e-commerce, and I'm purchasing a product, and moving away from that side, I go back to say something like Facebook or any other website, and I start seeing repetitive ads of similar products of what I was looking at before. And essentially, this is consumption of data from what I was browsing before to what is now being used by different companies or consumers, being able to advise them what kind of market and product I'm looking for, to constantly banner ads to me. So I guess the question here is, to what extent do the respective companies use data to leverage for business growth and sustainability? How does that work with different companies that we're looking at?
So, from what you described, I think it's not so much as a breach of data or a breach of data policy or trust when you get what you see, for example, if you go to an Amazon website, because this is machine learning, and the essence of machine learning is to build a system that can learn from data. Okay, so it's because of the models and the algorithms that you get such suggestions when you go to Amazon or Facebook several times. So I don't think there is much of a data breach in that scenario, because the Data and Information Protection Act still have to them. But on the other side, to the extent that we will go to use data that doesn't belong to us, I don't think there is anything that we will do to step beyond the line. Because if today I go to an insurance company and maybe I'm doing revenue assurance for them, so maybe they give me all the data with regards to claims, premiums, and policies, there's not so much that I can do with it other than to make myself learn how to be better and how to approach the next insurance company in a more effective way. So I won't expose the information out there, I won't share it. So it's basically just learning how to make my services more efficient, yeah, and to build capacity and skills.
Yeah, so Safaricom is a largely consumer business with about 28 million active customers. It's within Safaricom interest to provide the right product to the right person. So using the customer data to figure out something that they need is very powerful both for the business to make money as well as to help people actually get what is very useful for them. Because with a happy customer, it means there's more profit, the business thrives for that. So for any data science, machine learning work that's done on the consumers' profiles, spending patterns, and specialized towards giving them much more better product and better experiences with the use of Icon products. Because the only evil side to data science is, for example, if you understand someone is in need of money and then you offer them a high interest loan because you know they'll go for it, then that's the evil side of that. And for anything that Safaricom decides to do, there are almost like 4 or 5 regulators that have to check. The CA has to check it because it effectively control the board, includes advertising agencies for the kind of stuff. So even if you internally decide to do something crazy, there's still other checks and balances that have to go out because each product has to be vetted. Like there's an internal vetting team, but as well as conforming to regulation. As far as I know, all the data science work done is just the benefits of the customer.
Right. So I guess IBM, because it has not so much sort of consumer-facing products, most of them are for enterprise purposes. most of the time it ends up being systems that enable other companies to get insights or extract value from their end customers, right? So one of the things that, for example, I guess we have worked on is basically the class of problems of recommender systems. So for this example of what type of ads does a website or a platform give you is more or less based on this challenge of designing good recommender systems where you're getting relevant information given to you. Now, it's really not sort of like a data problem or like, a data breach because most of the time the information is contained within those companies. They're actually sort of, let's say, selling ad space. When somebody wants to advertise on Amazon, for example, they'll just buy ad space and they'll let Amazon direct their ads to the right people. This is really sort of how that business model works. It's not that they're sharing your information. I think potentially more interesting is when people basically unknowingly just click, like when you download an app and you just click accept all the terms and conditions and you share your data, right? With potentially not so trustworthy companies. Let's say you just want to play a game, but for example, to play the game, you give them full access to your phone, your text messages, your call records, all these different things. So you oftentimes will see people giving away their data rights for free or for some meaningless application. So companies that are not so well regulated or not so internally strict, like for example Safaricom, then like these companies also somehow end up getting some value, some very comparable data to what Safaricom has because you've given away your data rights on your phone. So I think it's a couple of distinctions as to where potentially the problem is coming from also.
So for most of our clients, banking, mostly in banking and insurance, so what I've seen with most of them, banking, they're yet to get to a point of targeting you with certain loans. Yeah? They're yet to get there. But insurance also, they're yet to get there too. But what I find most that they're trying to do with their data is to reduce the losses they have to go through in terms of claims, especially for insurance. So I think the thing here with insurance is it's not the organization trying to target you to get to pay more premiums, but it's them trying to find a way to use their data to streamline their claims process. And then for banking also, I think because they have not yet gotten to a point where they're able to detect fraud, flag it down, and also predict fraud instances of fraud taking place, because probably they have not gotten to the point of using their data to assist them to predict such situations. That's what they're trying to work on, to find ways to detect fraud situations, unlike having to find ways to target you with better loans or better products.
Okay, I think for most of us, when we look at that now, you have a better picture, better idea of what's actually happening behind the scenes. When we're saying we're using big data to improve products and services, we